But the question is, how ready are you to also see the year comes to an end on your side? This is the question we should be always asking ourselves, if at all we also are working towards our dreams and working towards our achievements. So to see to that also we attain whatever we would wish to also do at the end of the year in there. And that is where I want to welcome you on board on a special way from wherever you're watching us from. It could be within West Nile Sub-Region in the districts of Nebi, Zobo, Pakwach, Arua District, Arua City, Madiokolo, Koboko, Yumbe, Maracha, Terego, and others. I want to also welcome you on board in a special way and say welcome aboard. But for those of you in Lango Sub-Region, actually, I also do not want to leave you out, not forgetting our brothers and sisters in Karamoja Sub-Region and Northern Uganda entirely. I want to say welcome aboard. For those of you in the other parts of the country, in Bunyoro, that is in the western parts, I want to say thank you so much. In Toro, I also do not want to leave you out, not forgetting those who are also watching us in eastern and the other parts. Not forgetting also in there, I want to say thank you so much for always watching West Nile Television. What about those who are watching us overseas? I also want to say thank you so much. I really do very, very much honor and appreciate your time for always wanting to know what is happening way back home. Because we have colleagues who are watching us abroad, in the Middle East, in Europe, who are always also plugged in, and that is also that tells you that they are there to also see what is happening way back home. They've not forgotten us, because many times people think those who have gone abroad have forgotten about them, which is not the case. They think those who have gone abroad indeed have also forgotten about them. But I just want to say it's not the case. Many times people who go abroad have not forgotten that people at home do exist. That is why once in a while they check on them, and it's really very much important for you who is abroad to also check on your loved ones way back in these countries here, because many times they feel life here is not as good as it is. Maybe it's outside. They feel life outside is actually better, and that is why they would wish to also see to it that they be part of the groups also really of wanting to be with you way back home in there. That is only one assurance I want to give you as we are getting to move on with the show. This is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV. We are live on channel 477, that's on Star Times, and also on 0073 on the Zuku. That is for those who have the decoder and watching us in other parts of the country. I do understand some people may not also be accessing us as per now, but we are working towards restoring that, and to see that also you watch us each and every mornings. That is from Mondays to Fridays, right from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You do not have to miss any information that also we are programming and also planning to give you in there. Remember, this is the very first time that we are also seeing this also happening, and that is where we are going to be working towards restoring that. Meanwhile, for those of you who are on our new decoder, that is on Azam, we are also already there. And we hope also you who has the decoder and who has not paid it. Maybe you have been wondering if where you could be watching West Nile Television from. And in case you have the decoder, it's high time you also run and pay for that decoder, so you do not have to miss what is happening way back in West Nile. And that is where you only get this information, not elsewhere, but only on West Nile Television. And starting off your day each and every mornings, from an informed point of view, is the Kokoliriko live show. With me, Farish Majid, where on some occasions we also do invite guests to come and talk to you over certain issues. And that is where I really want to say it's always great having you on board. And now starting off our discussions, remember, the Konyi trial is going to be taking place in his absentia. He's another story that we're seeing. And the ICC is to confirm charges against Joseph Konyi, the warlord veteran. That is Joseph Konyi, who also already did a lot of atrocities in another part of this country for over 2 decades, where people of northern Uganda went through a lot. Today we have children who are orphans just because of the war. That was in northern Uganda. We have today mothers who are having no children just because the children do not know where their fathers are, and the fathers have disappeared also in there. And that is where now the pre-trial Chamber 3 of the International Criminal Court has issued, that is a decision stating that all the requirements to hold a confirmation of charges hearing against Ugandan warlord Joseph Konyi in his absence are now met, and that is where they will be also trying him in his absentia. Now, according to statement on the court's website, the hearing will be held, that is at a date yet to be announced, at a later also stage in there. And now that is where we shall be seeing this chamber composed of judges Althea Violet Alexis Wilson, the presiding judge Eluthlia Anatolia Martok, and Heikel Ben Mahfoud, being also found that so-called Mr. Konyi is a person who cannot be found also within the meaning of the article, that is 61 subsection 2, that is B of also the ICC Rome statute in there, and that is where all reasonable steps to secure his appearance and inform him of charges and date of the confirmation of charges initially also scheduled for October 15th of 2024 also have been taken, and the cause to hold confirmation of charges also been read as part of the court's order in 2019. Also 29th media statement also is what they will be following to see that the warlord is tried in his absentia. Remember, he's one of his commanders, that is Coelho, will be serving over 40 years in prison. But for the warlord who is currently in hiding, could he be dead? Could he be hiding? Nobody knows. But we are yet following up to see if at all he will be brought to book. Because if you look at the 20-year insurgency in northern Uganda, it wasn't easy, where we were able to see many children losing their lives. Others were left, many businesses collapsed because Kony grabbed their property. Because for looting, they were also seniors in that. Today we have a lot of businessmen who are crying for compensation. Today, some of the buses companies in West Nile sub-region also had a lot of challenges. As per now, many of them also still saying they need their monies, and the money these businessmen are demanding is about 99 billion, where we're having over 1,000 plus people who also demanding for this money in there. Now, the purpose of the confirmation of charges hearing is to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to establish substantial grounds to believe that the person also committed each of the crimes he is charged on. Now, the Rome statute also allows for confirmation of charges proceedings at the pre-trial stage in the absence also of the suspect and the specific conditions. If the charges also are confirmed, the case can only proceed to the trial if the accused is present before the trial chamber, and that is what exactly we are able to also follow up on. And we hope at the end of the day, those who were also convicted with the warlord also shall still stand also the trial and see to it that they also answer those charges for which they have been charged in there. Now, a warrant of arrest for Konyi, the rebel leader also of the Lord's Resistance Army, it was issued under seal on July 8th, 2005, amended on September 27th of 2005, and unsealed on October 13th of 2005 in here. Now, it is suspected of 12 counts of crime against humanity, which include, among others, murder, enslavement, sexual harassment, rape, injury, and suffering, and 21 counts of war crimes, which, among others, include murder, cruel treatment of civilians, intentionally directing an attack against a civilian population, pillaging, inducing rape, and forced enlistment of children. And these are some of the charges against which the warlord will also have to answer. And he allegedly also committed the crimes between 2003 and 2004 in northern Uganda, killing over 100,000 people and causing displacement of about 1.5 million people in the northern part of this country. On September 12th of 2024, the pre-trial also chamber 3 postponed the commencement of the confirmation against Konyi from October 15th, and this is when we are able to sort of see the warlord today who is still in hiding with also its challenges also in there, and that is one reason also why we would also want to see that this also happens, and we shall be also looking into that discussion later on. But I want to also assure that so many issues continue to happen, and I will be also letting you know some of those also that are happening in there. And all in all, that is aiming to keep you informed and also in the know of what is happening in there. And another story that we are seeing, child killers, man attacks father-in-law's home in Kabarole, which is really another sad story that we are seeing on the monitor this morning. But how do we see all this happening, and how really are we to answer some of these charges in there is what really matters. And that is why we would also really want to look at that discussion later on. But it seems that today many are taking the laws in their hands, and which is really a bad practice which we must always desist from. Now, the DP Bloc 6 Buganda MPs on rejecting coffee bill is another story we are seeing, which is another story which is yet developing. And remember, as the mergers bill returned, today some of the entities are actually at the verge of being returned to the mother ministries, and among those is the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which is to be moved, that is the Ministry of Agriculture. Today, some of the sections of the people have also rejected that, but we are yet keenly following up on that to see how this also ends in there. Now, the Democratic Party Coalition, commonly known as the DP Bloc, has expressed support, that is also to the members of the Buganda Parliamentary Caucus, for rejecting a proposal, that is the Coffee Amendment Bill of 2004, which seeks to integrate, that is the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, within the Agriculture Ministry, something which has not gone well with the sectional legislators. And I really want to say that we were able to see some of the MPs being angry, that is with the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anita Mong, who issued the statement. That also did not go on well with them in there, and I was able to also see the Lord Mayor, that is Elias Lukwago, asking the Speaker of Parliament to also apologize, that is for the people of Uganda, for our statement in there. That's one area which we did see in there, and we are still hoping also that this matter also does not end in there. Now, Michael Mabike, the DP Bloc Secretary General, also did also talk about the same issue, and he went on to denounce the tribulation of the bill, saying that some individuals are trying to divert people from following up the bill so that they can also really fulfill their selfish interest. And that is one issue. One of the leaders actually said that the people of Uganda actually tried to tribalize this issue, and we were able to see the Premier of the Kingdom, that's Charles Peter Mayiga, also issuing out the same response on the same matter. And we hope at the end of the day this matter ends very well, because if at all the entity is well, then merging it wouldn't be well, and at the end of the day we would also want to see this entity remain where it is. Now on Tuesday, Uganda Kingdom Premier, that's Charles Peter Mayiga, urged government to allocate more funds instead of merging the UCDA to Ministry of Agriculture, and that is where they feel this coffee agency has been doing a tremendous job. That is also in making sure that more people are engaged into coffee production. If you look at one of the campaigns in Uganda, after one of the tours, that is of the king, we were able to also see the Mwanyi Telimba initiative, which also really means the coffee does not lie, which also is aiming at encouraging more people venture into coffee production. Today you realize many people are already engaging in coffee farming, and many of this is happening in Buganda sub-region. Now Buganda is known for two crops mainly, and when you talk about the crops Buganda sub-region is producing, you realize that the people of Buganda are growing coffee, and besides that they are also really very much actively growing bananas, all in all to aim and also get money, which is something which I must say is quite well. And at the end of the day, we must all embrace that. We must also embrace that at the end of the day to see that we change and improve on our livelihoods. And that will also at the end of the day enable us to get the monies that we would wish to also get for our families in there. Now on Tuesday, Uganda Kingdom Premier did all that, and he went on to encourage UCDA to prioritize efforts aiming at boosting coffee production within the current figures, indicating that Uganda's coffee exports in July of this year amounted to about 821,593 60 kilograms, which is 60 K bags, worth also huge amounts of money in there, which were generated from the coffee in there. And if you look at that, you realize that the government was able to generate about $210.48 million US in the exports of coffee. Today, Uganda is actually one of those areas producing coffee, but our coffee is yet locally consumed, that is within the country. How can we make sure that we export this coffee in the final base in there is what we must also really work towards, and we must always work towards achieving that, because if you look at our coffee, many of the times we are also yet exporting it in raw format, and we are not also really yet hitting the European markets. Why? Because there are countries that are also known for producing coffee, countries like Brazil. These are the coffee producing countries. How, maybe when shall we reach that level of also really supplying countries, the European countries, or the developed countries with this coffee in there is what we must always focus towards. And as we're talking about mergers, let's mind about the markets of this coffee in there. Now this is the highest coffee also figure in Uganda's history, and coffee remains one of the Uganda's leading foreign exchange earners. And exports also for the last 12 months totaled also only 6.3 million or expected about 60K bags, worth $1.25 billion, and that is one area which we feel must also really be able to solely engage in there, and that would at the end of the day increase on production, and we shall be able to solely improve on our livelihoods, that is socioeconomically in there, because when you talk about socioeconomic transformation, today many people are also in that word not understanding what it is all about. I really want to say coffee would actually make sure that we actually move away from the poverty bar line where we are into the middle income status society, which we want to also get into at the end of the day through engaging in coffee production in there, and that would also at the end of the day enable us get the money also which we are also seeing in there. Now still related to the coffee bill, Anglican Church urges calm ahead of prayers for God's intervention is another story we are seeing still relatedly to coffee bill in there, where the Anglican Church of Uganda has called for calm amidst the ongoing debate on the controversial National Coffee Amendment Bill of 2024 that seeks to integrate, that is the Uganda Coffee Development Authority within Agriculture Ministry, as government insists that the move is aiming at including, that is also already bloated also structures, and to avoid also the unnecessary expenditure of the government on some of those agencies that are doing similar work in there. But the bill has, of course, generated that is mixed reactions, with others opposing it, with others pushing for the move. And that is one thing also which we are yet following up on. When shall it end, and how is it going to be ending, is what we are yet following up on India. But the bill has also, of course, sparked a debate, with a section of legislators already saying the move will financially harm coffee growers, setting them on course to lose a lot of money. And that is one area where we are seeing several people oppose the bill, backed by the President Museveni, argue that UCDA has been exclusively promoting and regulating coffee production in the country, and phasing it out would mean loss of credible support system for the farmers. And that is where we are able to see that there are fears on whether the Agriculture Ministry will manage the coffee business effectively, and that is one issue which also you too, also as the viewer, can still share your opinions and share your thoughts as this matter is being pursued. And we have now seen the clergy, led by the Anglican Church Bishop, that's Archbishop Samuel Kazimu Mugalu, says the coffee bill would, amongst other things, also for which they are seeking God's intervention through prayers days before Uganda in late November. And that is one area which we have now seen the church also joining hands on, to see how they can pray for it to move also peacefully in there. Because if you look at this matter, we were able to see a heated debate, where I was able to see some section of the legislators, maybe MPs in the opposition, moving and storming out of the parliament just because they were not also in support of this bill in there. And now, however, he declined also for further his stand on the specifics also of the coffee bill. But Church of Uganda Provincial Treasurer, that is Bara Muhebwa, told Monitor that the ongoing squabbles should be resolved also sooner than later, is what we are seeing also here, as the matter is yet a developing story. And we shall be coming back and also letting you know how this matter ends when the right time comes in there. Because if you look at this issue, it is yet in developing format. It is yet what we call developing story. And at the end of the day, I will come back and give you information, maybe if the bill is moved, and maybe if the merger succeeds, because many of the times, if at all the legislators reject it, then the House will have nothing to do when it comes to solely addressing that matter in there. Now, the Parliament last week also put off the debate on the coffee bill amidst also disputes, and the opposition lawmakers, including leader of opposition Parliament, that is Joel Senyonyi, strongly also objected to proposals of the bill, instead suggesting UCDA should be empowered to work better than it has been happening, and they would also want not to see this entity be moved, that is to the under Ministry of Agriculture in there, where they're also going to be overwhelming it, and they feel at the end of the day that would also affect the growth of coffee in this country. And that is where we are going to be also moving on with the discussion. And at the end of the day, I would also be letting you know what is happening in the country, and to know what is in the country is always your mandate. And we are there to do that for you each and every mornings, right from Mondays to Fridays, from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And today, it being a Thursday, I really want to show you that so many issues are happening. And of course, so many also do continue to also happen in the country. And I will be unfolding all those in the developing days in there. And all in all, allow me to welcome you on board. In case you're just joining us right now, in case you are having breakfast with your family, I want to say nice appetite, and you must also hurry to also move to your places in there, because if at all you're going to be keeping home, it may not be also really very well for you in there. Now we are seeing another story here where suspect cult members killed 10 in Kagadi attack, which is really another sad story in there. But where do these cults also come from? And at least 10 people also have been confirmed dead, and 8 others admitted that to a hospital with severe injuries after they were also on Tuesday evening hacked by unknown assailants in Kagadi district, which is in western Uganda. And according to police and UPDF defense forces, that information also happened in there. But now preliminary information indicates that members of a new cult, whose name is yet to be established, decided on the people also, most of whom are their family members, and cut them using also sharp objects, leading to their death, and others injured in there. That's according to information we are receiving from Major Bilal Katamba, the Mountain Division and Operating Suja Public Information Officer following the 9 p.m. attack in Muzizi village in Chaterekera sub-county in there, which is in Kagadi district. Also information we are receiving from in there, that is, there's a new cult group which has emerged and killed about 10 people, whom most of them are family members. And what is the reason and who are the initiators of this cult group is what we need to solely find out, because we may be talking about it being in Kagadi. Tomorrow it will happen in the Western Sub-region. Tomorrow it will happen in Maracha. Tomorrow it will happen in Kokoliriko. The other day it may happen in Zombo. It may happen in Nebi. It may happen in Amuru. It may happen in Lango. All. So I think it is one thing also which we feel must also be given keen attention to, because if you talk about the issues of the cult groups, they are doing a disservice. But where are they emerging from? These are activities which many times protect as satanics. And this is one area which we feel should be given keen attention to as we get involved in the show today, because if you look at all these issues, there's an information that they are sending and reflecting towards, and which we feel must also be dealt with. Now, according to Major Katamba, the UPDF police issue are on the ground, hunting for the culprits. As an intervention to the matter, I've already also convinced in there. And in a separate statement, the Albertine Regional Police spokesperson, that is Julia Sakiza Alan, identified the deceased, including 4 children, and that is where we are still seeing them have lost their lives. Now, according to him, 2 suspects only identified as Bagumo Bedi, who is a 33-year-old, and David Munyirimbaramba, and a 36-year-old, were also killed while attempting to attack the security forces, and that is one area which we did see happening in there. Now, the deceased, among others, include Nyarambe Boniface Rogers, and we do have Yokonia Isakara, who is a 76-year-old. We have Kabuwere Nora, who is a 64-year-old lady here. Muhindo Praise, 7-year-old. Kabugo Anita, who is a 44-year-old. Masika Kabagenyi, who is a 13-year-old. And Kabugo Olive, 13-year-old. We have Bagumo Bedi, a 33-year-old. And Munyirambe David, who is a 36-year-old, who have also been killed in this attack in there. But where do these cult groups emerge from? And what should be done to them? And how can we protect ourselves from these cult groups is what really matters and what we should always work towards. Because if you look at these issues of the cults, many times we are seeing those issues being challenging, and we want to see how this will be ending. But how ready are we for all this? Because if you look at all these issues here, and then you realize that a lot also happening, and we also to fight also against those injustices. And where can we fight all these injustices? It is from the court. And the courts also have to also sentence some of these people to harsher sentences. And I really want to say death sentence to me will suit some of these people who are engaged in some of these practices. Now, to talk about the judiciary, we are also seeing the Judicial Service Commission has appointed about 25 magistrates, and the Judicial Service Commission also did do that. And this is also in its exercise of constitutional mandate, has appointed 25 judicial officers to be the lower bench, aiming at improving the administration of justice. And that is where we are now seeing some of these also being appointed. And some of those appointed include Irene Nambatia, Sanula Nambozo, and Timothy Lumunye, some of the newly appointed magistrates. And we want to wish them the very best in there. Now the attached list, and if you look at what's on, maybe if you want to see how, and maybe how many of these are appointed, we have Her Worship Nambatia Irene, we have His Worship Ojok Tony Obonyo, we have His Worship Okwanga Stella Pakulal. We have His Worship, that is Lumunye Timothy. We have His Worship Longoli Matthew. His Worship Asimwe Abbott. We have His Worship Gimugu Kabiri Kenneth. We have our worship, that is Naso Zirehe Maseboa. We have His Worship, that is Birunje Fiona. We have His Worship, that is Kiria Martins. We have His Worship Kwesiga Joseph, and Her Worship Ndagire Pamela, and not forgetting also those are some of those are the positions of that is acting chief magistrates. And now we have also the others who are appointed to senior principal magistrates grade 1 of also the High Court of also the senior principal magistrate courts of grade 1, where we have His Worship Sobia Ronald Kamia. We have our Worship Nambozo Sanula. We have His Worship Aisu Nicholas. We have His Worship Waterekera George Wakubona. We have His Worship Basaja Balaba Jalia. We have His Worship, that is Kauka Paul. We have our worship also Jatiko Wininanchia. And meanwhile, to Principal Magistrate Grade 1, also we have others who are also being appointed to that position as well, where we have His Worship Tio Jonathan. We have His Worship Kashule. We have our Worship Kashule Rutahirwe. We have our Worship Turi Bamwe Christine, and Her Worship Akelo Irene, who have been appointed that position in there. Meanwhile, to senior grade 1 magistrates, we have Her Worship, that's Karamagi Paul May. We have Osilo Okoth Jacob Israel, who have also been appointed that position in there, and we want to wish them the very best. And we hope this is all aiming at empowering and enhancing activities of the judiciary, because many times, if you talk about issues of case backlog, many of it has been attributed that to the factor of the staffing gap. And we hope this time around, this is going to be addressing the staffing gap, which is also within the judiciary. And at the end of the day, we expect them to also serve areas where they're going to be appointed diligently, so that the Judicial Service Commission also attains and achieves its purpose. That is of acting as a middleman, that is for justice. Because if you look at that, that's where today we are looking at it as a bridge that is to justice. And today many of the people do not also understand that indeed they have a role to also ask for information. Many of times people are not also informed about activities of the judiciary. Many times people fear judiciary, and that is where we are saying, if you have any case, work freely, work and also ask for this information from the nearest courts in there, where you will be getting that information you want to get in there. And at the end of the day, that is where we are also going to be seeing this happening. And that is one area which we feel is also very much important for us to be talking about all that. And that is one area which at the end of the day will be very much important for us to also be able to talk about. Because if you look at the Judicial Service Commission, then it is high time that you understand what it means. And all in all, I want to wish you the very best in case you are also among those appointed. And we hope you are going to be improving on service delivery. And that is where we are going to be leaving the discussion aside. And in these 4 remaining minutes of the hour, we are still seeing another paper, and also on the monitor here, where government has ordered Jinja Hospital, Uganda Muslim Spring Council, to share the contested land. And that is where we are now seeing the government of Uganda has ordered Jinja Referral Hospital and Uganda Muslim Spring Council to share the contested 4.2-acre piece of land that's on Cliff Road in the west, that's in the Jinja City. And the decision was reached during a closed-door meeting convened also for both parties by the Minister of Lands, that's Housing and Urban Development, Ms. Judith Nabakova, which ended on May 9th also in there. That was on October 29th at Jinja City Chambers. Now, according to also the information we're receiving from India, after conducting a locus visit also to the contested land with her ministry and the Ministry of Health officials counterpart, that is Ms. Jane Rutha Cheng, Ms. Nabakova also said it was resolved that Jinja Regional Hospital gives half an acre, that is to Uganda Muslim Spring Council, and uses the remainder to set up, that is Heart and Cancer Institutes and Blood Bank for Busoga sub-region, which is really something which I must say is quite well. And this is still for humanity, and that is where we expect now all parties to be satisfied with this decision, which I feel is really, really balanced in there. Now, last week, Uganda Muslim Spring Council petitioned Ms. Nabakova in their latest attempt, that is to regain also the land, in the letter that was dated October 23rd of 2024, which also really the latest petition also by the Uganda Muslim Spring Council comes at a time where Jinja Referral Hospital contracted the engineering brigade of the Uganda Post Defense Forces to erect a perimeter wall also at the facility in there. And that is one area which now we are seeing this happening, and I hope at the end of the day all the parties agree to this decision and must be happy with this decision in there. Now, in doing so, the Muslim community in Jinja City was denied access to a cemetery where they have been also burying their loved ones for the past 92 years. And Ms. Nabakova also said a surveyor and physical planner will survey, offer guidance on the proper planning of the land, and also she further advised that all litigation procedures be put aside in the spirit of brotherhood in there, because the hospital also is going to be serving Muslims. Even if the Muslims are also in there, the cemetery will still serve each and every Muslim who will be buried in there, and that is where we expect this matter now to end. And let the Muslim community also freely give the land, and let the hospital also give what belongs to the Muslims, and that is what we want. And putting up a health facility which will serve all the citizens is really, really quite good. And I hope at the end of the day, each and everyone takes this in good spirit. Because if you look at the issues of heart disease today, it does not separate that you are a Muslim, you are a pagan, you are a Christian, everyone falls sick. And we are all taking these health facilities. And that is where we are now seeing the Deputy Mufti Sheikh Muhammad Ali Waiswa asked the Muslim community to receive the news with acceptance, saying we have also reached an amicable solution to access the cemetery, and thank the Minister for Lands and Health for also reaching out these decisions in here, and this is where she appreciated the ministries for also undertaking that. And we hope also Habib Muhammad, a resident who lost also his auntie last week in Mombasa, said the family struggled also to bury her after failing to access the cemetery and had to also improvise by using temporary ladders to deliver her body to the burial site in there. And that is one area also which we are yet following up on. And Mr. Ashraf Muhammad, another resident, said at times bodies also fall from their janeza, that's Swahili word for coffin, as they also being also scaled up by the fence also in there. And that is one area which we feel is really quite important for us to also be able to also understand in there. And we hope at the end of the day that this also ends very well. And now the hospital director, that is Alfred Yai, earlier told also that in a separate interview that Uganda Hospital Council was advised formally to request for access to the cemetery, but had not made such a request in there. And we hope now this time round what belongs to who is known. And we expect also the ministries to demarcate. This belongs to you, this belongs to you, and the matter ends. With that, we are coming to the end of the first hour. This is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV channel 477 on Star Times, and on Zuku we are also there. Not forgetting what we call Azam, we are also in there, but we are taking a short commercial break. When we bounce back, we still have lots more to give you in the upcoming hours. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions, and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to StarTimes.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from the short commercial break. We're already 5 minutes into our second hour, which is of 8 o'clock, and our final destination, of course, remains, that is 9 o'clock. And at 9, that's when I will be leaving the studios for the next crew to come. That is of the Elaza team that will be ushering you into other programs so that will be following up in the due course of the day. And I really want to show you that we have lots more prepared for you in the due course of the day. In the day, we shall be having many programs, all in all, to keep you, first of all, informed, entertained, and also educated. And when we talk about issues of education, we are there to also educate you in the world of health, in the world of politics. Everything is there where we shall be also letting you know in there. Today we shall be having a program that will also be educating you when it comes to your health matters, because usually we say health is wealth. So it is high time for you to be part of the program and also be in position to sort of get information when it comes to health, other than wasting money in consultations, because just imagine how much money you would waste in undertaking consultations for also some of those diseases that also you will be having in there. But all in all, I want to welcome you on board in a special way and say welcome aboard from wherever you are watching us from. And this is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV, channel 477, and we are going to be going with these discussions up to 9 o'clock. And at 9, that's when I will be leaving the studios for the next crew to come. But in here, I will still have lots more prepared for you so to give in there. Now that's where we're going to also look at some of the stories happening in Buvuma, where interruption of ferry services to Buvuma as leaders and the locals who are angry about also the temporary suspension of MV Palm operations, which has paralyzed also the transport system. That's from Kaindi landing site in Buikwe to a landing island, also this in the district of Buvuma, upsetting locals, the area leaders who are currently angry about also the same decision. Now the move also, according to Uganda National Roads Authority, will enable the vessel to also aid the transportation of palm oil seedlings from Kalangala Island to Buvuma, and the MV Palm is the only public vessel plying the Kaindi-Buvuma route on Lake Victoria in there. And that today, many of the people who have also been using that route are now angry, most especially leaders and those who also reside in the area in there. But on October 22nd of 2024, the UNRWA director, that's of Road Infrastructure Protection, that is John Sejemba, wrote informing the Buvuma district leadership that the MV Palm operations will be interrupted between October 28th and November 3rd of this year in there. And however, the business community and also the local leaders in Buvuma district expressed anger, saying withdrawal of the vessel system for passengers was taken without consulting key stakeholders, and that's why they are feeling angry today. Now the Buvuma County Member of Parliament, that's Robert Migade, said lack of ferry operations for a week will seriously affect service delivery in the district, and MV Palm usually makes 4 trips, that is on Mondays and Fridays, 3 from Tuesday and Thursdays, and Saturdays an additional 2 trips also on Sundays. And that is where we have been seeing also the road, also the water vessel connecting also the people of Buvuma in there. But today, due to the halting of the operation, which is also going to be using for transportation of palm oil, many of the people who wish to also travel within this period are going to be affected. And now cargo trucks, including those transporting to the island, are also affected as well. This is going to be affecting movement of goods and services. And if you look at the cargo trucks also, which have been carrying items, and definitely this is also cut because no way they're going to be crossing. And water transport is not like road transport, where if there's no car, you can still walk. If it is no ferry, then there's no way you're going to be moving, and you're going to be finding it very difficult in there. That's why we're seeing Mr. Adrian Waiswandugu, the Buvuma district chairperson, also say that this season also has affected trade, and definitely you cannot sort of run away from the fact that trade is currently being affected. Now the MV Palm, which is currently Uganda's biggest ferry on Lake Victoria, was purchased last year, and it has 519 passenger capacity, in addition to its ability to offload, that is also to load 25 vehicles and 20-30 tons of cargo. And similarly, we are seeing Gloria Nakamate, who deals in Mukene, which is silverfish business at Kaindi Learning Site, said she is worried that many travelers to also will risk their lives as they are going to be resorting to using the wooden boats, which are also a bit risky in there. And now Buvuma also is located in Lake Victoria, which comprises that of 25 inhabited islands, and is predominantly also really a fishing community, but has also lately embraced farming, which has also really increased agricultural productivity in the area where it was initially known as a fishing area, but today many of the farmers have as well joined agriculture. Now they're planting other crops in there. Now there are also many development taking place in Buvuma, and the tourism sector is also really slowly but steadily growing, like in the case of Kalangala Island. So if you talk about Kalangala, many people also want to go there because they feel they want to see what's happening. And today Kalangala also has been in the spotlight over issues of certain diseases. So for you who is planning to move there, you better be careful, because that area also really today is also really one of those hotspots for certain diseases in there. But I wouldn't want to mention those diseases, but all in all, I will be also really continuing with the discussion in there. Now a builder has been arrested over defiling a 4-year-old Bukedia girl, and this is where we are also saying it's a sad note. You know, a sad note also in there where now we're now seeing a builder has also already defiled a 4-year-old. Now, police in Bukedia district have also arrested a 24-year-old man for allegedly defiling a 4-year-old child. Now, police identified the suspect as Abadia Enau, a resident that's of Soroti City, and the Bukedia district police commander Richard Asimwe said the suspect was also detained at the central police station on Thursday evening for the charges of defilement. Now, according to Asimwe, where the suspect also was arrested from Kide village in Bukedia Town Council, following an incident in which police fired live bullets and tear gas to disperse angry residents. Now, Betty Choma said they were busy sorting rice from the industrial area while their kids were playing also, but they were shocked to hear her daughter crying also in an incomplete building, and that is where they reached, and inside the building only to find Enau was on top of the girl, and the girl was crying, and we made also the alarm, and he took off, and that is where we were able to sort of see that happening. Now, according to sources, Enau came to Bukedia as a builder, and Juma Akol, the Kide Ward Parish Intelligence Officer, said also that when police was notified, they swung into action, and the suspect was arrested. And police say he will be arraigned before courts of law after the investigations into the matter are complete. As a 24-year-old, and you're a builder, it's really shocking that you can engage in defiling a 4-year-old. What are you going to be doing there? Because this is somebody who is really immature, and this person does not actually know about certain of these activities. How do you engage in such practice? What's happening to society? Because each and every time, at least each and every day, there's a story. I'm talking about violation of people's rights. Each and every morning, at least of late, I am talking about that. It means that people are not also respecting others. It means that people are not also doing what is right and what is expected out of them. So how ready are we as citizens, and how ready are we as masses to also avoid some of these activities, which I feel are criminal in nature? And that is where, as families, as we are leaving our homes, let's be mindful of whom we are living home, and maybe whom also those we are living our children with. Because imagine somebody who is 24-year-old sleeping with a 4-year-old. Very much shocking, because this is still a child, a baby, in fact, who does not also know about some of these activities. Because I feel harsh punishments. It brings tears almost in my eyes. So I think it's really high time that the police and other security agencies find stringent measures to deal with some of these culprits, so that many do not also engage in those practices in there. And that is where we are leaving that discussion aside, and we hope something be done to this victim, and also and he has to first of all take this girl for treatment, because imagine a 24-year-old sleeping with a 4-year-old. It's really very much embarrassing. Now, Fisheries Protection Unit also destroy illegal gear worth shillings 830 million. That is in Soga sub-region. Is another story that we're seeing in this morning, where the Uganda Post Defense Forces, where we are talking about the Fisheries Protection Unit, as also and local authorities have destroyed illegal fishing gear worth 831 million across the Kamuli, Kaliro, and Buyene districts over the past 8 months, leading to an increase in the price of fish. Now, the Fish Protection Unit was formed by Prem 70 in January 2017 to mitigate and end illegal fishing practices on the Ugandan water bodies. However, we are seeing this also not working well with some of the people. Recently, we are able to also see in Western sub-region, most especially those who are on Lake Albert, also issuing out their fears Fishery Protection Unit. However, on the 28th month, the Fishery Protection Unit destroyed 294 pieces of kakota, which is beach seine nets worth 279.6 million, sorry, and 2,204 pieces of monofilament nets worth 11 million, and undersized gill nets 3 inches, which is about 40 million. That is at Kapiokolo UPDF detached. That's in Kapiokolo B village in Bukungu sub-county in Buyende district. And also they destroyed, we are also 122 small boats worth 488.8 million and 60 pieces of cast nets, which cost about 12 million, according to Lieutenant Daniel Kamuntu. The commandant Kamudi, also Buyende and Kalito district, said also that cumulatively 4,680 illegal fishing gear have been recovered from Bukungu, Kapiokolo, Kasato, Chiwatama, Chibale, Chiankolo landing sites solely, where this was between February and September of this year, which has left fishermen stressed and led to a surge also in the price of fish. And Shafik Sengendo, a fishmonger at Bukungu landing site, says because of the such interruptions, a kilogram of Nile perch has increased. That's from 10,000 to 14,000 during the same period. In there, initially we were able to see that an average school of between 3 and 4 tilapia, we are bought also at 15,000, which is no longer the case. And for fish, it is measured in schools, and we would not know it is actually a school of fish. And that is where we also want to educate you about that, because other than saying a group of fish, there's nothing like fish. It is fish remains fish. It is actually a school of fish. Maybe if you want to also use it for better, maybe for lack of a better word, you would just say, I am going to buy a school of fish. Not also maybe a school of class where there are classrooms, but it is just a group of fish, how it is called. In the now Buyende District Fisheries Officer, Ms. Sarah Nalukwago, urged fishermen to also really adhere to the requisite fishing requirements, make use of the Fisheries Protection Unit to monitor illegal fishermen, and protect the lake also really, which allow fish to allow fish grow and sustain their livelihood. Now, according to Nalukwago, the number of illegal fishing gear on Lake Chioga has also increased as a result of that. Now, she further advised the fishing community to reach out also the Fisheries Protection Unit and department to work together to increase that is their catch in there. And I hope at the end of the day, if at all we are going to be running away from the UPDF officers, then there's nothing we are going to be doing. And this is not only happening in Busoga sub-region, the same operation is happening across West Nile sub-region. Now that's where we're seeing the Buyende Assistant Resident District Commissioner, that is Mr. Emmanuel Kabenge, has advised fishing communities to be mindful of the lake, since it is their main source of income and source of livelihood in there. That means they should therefore do what is expected out of them. Now, Bukungu Town Council Mayor, Ms. Matthias Aribo Nyanduhundu, held a fishery protection unit for the surge in mature fish, and that's only where we are able to see that also becoming possible through eviction of those who have been engaging in illegal fishing in there, because many of times people who have been engaging in illegal fishing have also been causing challenges, for instance, solely in relation to some activities. And we hope this time around that is going to be addressed, and we would also want to see this continue as possible. And that's one issue also really where we are going to be seeing that happening, and at the end of the day we shall be seeing also that ending possibly in there, and we want to see how that is making it possible for us to be talking about that in there, and we shall be also ending that discussion later on in there. But we hope at the end of the day that this also really is going to be possible for us to also be able to also talk about that in there. Now, talking about social transformation, today many people are talking about poverty, and we hope poverty is also going to be ended with that. And leaving that aside, still looking at some of the stories, this is still on the monitor. Women MPs call for teachers to lead mindset shift, that is gender norms and paid care work, and that is one area which we are now seeing Uganda Women Parliamentary Association. Legislators are also urging teachers to champion mindset change in schools to help reshape gender norms around unpaid care work within households and communities. Now, speaking at the launch of the Economic Policy Research Center's report, Shifting, that is social norms on unpaid care and domestic work, held in Kampala on October 30th, Ms. Margaret Ayebale, woman MP, that's from Mbarara City, said there is need to install also changes from young age. And that is one thing we did happening in there. Now representing WOPA Chairperson Sarah Opendi, Ms. Ayebale also really stressed mindset change, that's on unpaid care work, should start also really at the grassroots to involve everyone. Schools need to also help young people recognize the importance of sharing care responsibilities as they often overlook gender considerations. And that is one area which we did see happening there. Today we have a lot of young people who are working as caretakers. And people forget about them. Recently we were able to see a story where there was a European who came all the way from Europe to also just look for that mother who took care of him those days after leaving the country. But today in Africa, it is really on a sad note that many times people forget about these caretakers. We forget them. I don't know why we tend to forget about them, but it's really not good because this is a person who is raising you. And just like your mother, we have to care. We have to give back to them. And that is where, even if we are paying them, please, if you grow up, let's be mindful. Let's go back and check on them. Today, I really check on those, and one of the persons who also took care of me, I don't forget them. Even if I have nothing to give them, at least mere greeting them is enough. And that is the way to go. I think it's quite important for us to also go back and check on them to also make sure that this also happens in there, and that is where we are talking about unpaid work. Unpaid work is actually common among these people, where people bring their relatives to come and take care of their children, their aunties, their daughters, what? It's happening. And we hope this time around also the people have to be paid for that. And that is one area which at the end of the day, we shall be also seeing that happening there. Now government allocates shilling 100 million also to celebrate every Ugandan Matter Day. And that is one story we're seeing where the first Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for East African Community Affairs, that is Rebecca Alitola Kadaga, has paid shillings 100 million. And as I said, government will allocate that also to celebrate every annual day dedicated to specific Ugandan matters in there. And Kadaga made the remarks in her speech also delivered by Soya Kingdom Tourism and Heritage Minister Helen Namutamba during Bishop James Huntington Day celebrations in Chenchando in Mayuge district on Tuesday. And this is where we are going to be seeing that. And separately also in her own speech, Namutamba also said she traveled to England in early October to meet the family of Bishop Huntington and to request also the president also for recognition and reconciliation meeting between the Busoga, and to also allow the day to be celebrated as a public holiday in there. And Church of Uganda Archbishop Stephen Kazima Mugalu expressed disappointments towards undisclosed cabinet members, allegedly frustrating the declaration of Bishop Huntington Day as a public holiday. And today, many people are working towards that. Now, every October 25th, thousands of people flock to Chando in Mayuge district to commemorate Bishop Huntington Day. Speaking to us as a chief guest at the commemoration of 2019, President Museveni also declared it a public holiday, but today it has not also really taken effect. How ready are we as a country to also start seeing this day maybe be respected as a public holiday is what we must also be able to work towards. And Archbishop Janan Luom Day is marked as an annual day, that is every February 16th as a public holiday dedicated to the life and service of the former Anglican prelate who is believed to have been killed by also the former president in there. But that is one thing also we are following up on. But the Church of Uganda has persisted with also the demands of recognition of the Bishop Huntington Day, even as government officials attended the latest commemoration also of his life in there. And East Busoga Bishop Paul Huntington Subi, whose birthday coincides with the day, called on believers to emulate Bishop also Huntington, who is remembered faithful and ended his life also and ended his death also before Christ in there. And that is where they want this day also to be celebrated as an annual day. But someone may be asking, who is Bishop Huntington? Bishop Huntington was born, that is on 18th, in 1847, that is 1847, and sent to Uganda from England in 1884 by the Anglican Church as a missionary to Eastern and Equatorial Africa. As he was traveling also towards Uganda, he was apprehended also by the Kabaka, the king of Buganda emissaries, and later he and his companions were brutally treated before he was killed on October 29th of 1885 in the present day in Chando in Mayuge district. And that is one issue also which we are still seeing. And in his last words to the killers, and he said, "Go tell your master that I've been also purchased the road to Uganda with my blood." And that is what he actually did say in there. Now developments also have been in line to that, and the government has so far tarmac that is 11-kilometer road that's from Bufubuli to Chiado. That is to also honor Bishop Huntington's shrine at a cost of about 7 billion to ease transportation for the pilgrims and tourists, where we are able to see Kadaga contracts also, while Kadaga has also constructed Century Huntington Resort cottages for accommodation and conference facilities, and that is where the facility also is happening as a tourist attraction site, which also we are seeing happening in there. And we are still following up on this matter to see how this also will be ending in there. And that is one area which at the end of the day, we must also be able to talk about in there. Now, Uganda Law Society dismissed, Semakade has dismissed also Uganda Law Society representative from Judicial Service Commission, where we are now seeing that the new president that's of the Uganda Law Society, that is Semakade, has now dismissed Uganda Law Society representatives from Judicial Service Commission. Is another story which we are seeing happening in there. On what reasons, maybe, is what we need to find out. Now, the Uganda Law Society Council has recalled 2 of its members, representing them on the Judicial Service Commission, citing irregularities in the and maybe how they were appointed. Now, the Uganda Law Society president, that's Mr. Isaac Semakade, said also that Ms. Ruth Tindira and Mr. Nora Matovu Wanyi was also not elected by the Law Council to represent Uganda Society on the Judicial Commission, as per also the 1956 Uganda Society Act, Cap 305, as well as the elections and regulations of 2016 in there, and that is why he is also recalling them following that law in there. And he added that I shall insist on clear and transparent procedures for shortlisting, participatory vetting, and appointment, including robust public scrutiny and robust accountability mechanisms, and this man also should be there for fighting corruption. And while releasing also the executive order on October 29th in Kampala, he noted also that the 2 have been representing Uganda Society in the Judicial Service Commission since 2016. Although the Judicial Service Commission also were appointed by the president, that President Museveni also we did see Semakade, and the Uganda Society is not aware of who has been recommending their representative for appointment, and that is one issue which the president also is very much bitter on. Mr. Semakade also explained that in the case of Stephen Kalali versus Uganda Law Society, the High Court in Kampala on February 2nd of 2024 delivered a judgment that also declaring that the current practice of appointing Uganda Law Society representatives statutory bodies without holding also the elections was a breach of the 1956 Uganda Law Society Cap Act, that's Cap 305, as well as elections and regulations, and that is one issue which the Uganda Law Society president also did go on, and he said the case that is between Stephen Kalali and the Uganda Law Society also in there, in which High Court of Kampala declared also a verdict also in there, which is a violation, and that is one issue also we expect now this also not to bring in debate. And he said also that following his February ruling, all individuals who are appointed as Uganda Law Society representatives, that's the Judicial Service Commission, and that's the other bodies also without being elected, also is also a break of the 2016 also recalls, and that's where he recalled them. And now the council also has put the president also notice about the election criteria. Also, the president uses to choose 2 members to represent the body at also the Service Commission in there, and that is one area we are going to be following up on keenly to see how this ends. But how ready are we for all it? If you look at the Judicial Service Commission, it is actually a gap, also it is actually a bridge to a gap that is in justice systems in there, and today many people also are happening and also talking about that. And we hope this time round, that is where we are going to be following up on that, and we want to see how this will be ending. And at the end of the day, we want to also see that happening. And this is where also which we are going to be seeing that happening. And for those who are still watching us this very morning, we want to say welcome aboard. We are just counting down 2 minutes to wind up with this hour and the first half of the second hour, sorry. And of course, our final destination will be 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, that's when Fateh Manuel will be coming through with the news bulletin. And thereafter, other programs already still will be coming through later on. And we still have lots more prepared for you. I want to assure you, as so many stories also continue to happen in the country. And today when we talk about stories, you realize a lot is happening. A lot of activities are happening right locally and also across the country in there. And when you talk about all this, you realize it is also the high time that we let you know of what's happening right away from the region and also the international in there. Where yesterday we were able to also see the burial of the former Ivu County legislator, that is Margaret Angufiru, and we expect also, and we pray for her soul to rest in eternal peace. And the day before yesterday, we were able to see a special council sitting that is also in honor of her in one of the primary schools within Ivu division, and we were able to see many people joining for the burial yesterday. And we want to also wish and pray for her soul to rest in eternal peace. After already she has been sick in there, and now she has gone to rest with the Lord. And it's the same step we are going to be following up on. But the question is, how is your death going to be finding you? And what are you doing to sort of see that also once you go? People remember you, people also honor you, is what we must also be able to sort of work towards on. Because if at all we don't talk about this, then it's going to be a high challenge for us in there. With that, we're taking a short commercial break. When we bounce back, we still have lots more to also give you in there. And not some other entire discussions. I will be touching what's happening in the world of sport, and I will be also checking internationally what's happening. That is across over Africa in there. And all in all, that is what we are going to be doing with you in the last half of today's show in there. My name is Farish Majid. Stay tuned as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions, and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium, Channel 259 and Channel 246. Starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back into the final half of these discussions, and we are just counting down some few minutes to wind up the discussions of the day, and this is where we are still also moving on with the discussion, and you can still also share your thoughts and opinions on what we are discussing this very morning in here, and I want to welcome you on board in a special way in case you are just joining us, and this is the final half. This is the Kokoliriko live show. Each and every Monday is happening right away here, and we are still moving on and to see how this also will be ending, and we hope also you are still with us. And we are going to be doing this with you at 9 o'clock, and remember, I will be summarizing the entire discussions with what's happening in the world of sport, and in the world of sport, I really want to share that so many issues are happening in there, but you also still can share your thoughts and share your opinions in relation to what we are discussing in here, and that would also, at the end of the day, help also really bridge the gap also really of what's happening in there, and that is one area where we want to seek for your opinions and seek for your ideas and thoughts, which may also be very much important in there. Now, starting off our discussion in the second hour, so many stories going to happen, and I really want to show you in the first hour we discussed extensively, and this time around also we are still going to be also really discussing about what's happening elsewhere in there. That's where we're going to be taking the discussions in Namutumba, where the youth are seeking to reclaim historical center, salt developer in there, and that is one issue that we are seeing in Namutumba, where youth in Namutumba district are out to reclaim a community center which was allegedly sold by the former district leadership to private developer to set a primary school in there. Now the youth also community center, initially also built in Namutumba sub-county by the Obote 1 government before it became a town council, was primarily to skill the youth and celebrate cultural values and conduct community meetings, among other roles for the young people in there. Now, over 60 years later, the Hitato Youth Center has also located Namutumba Town Council headquarters along the Mbale-Tirinyi Highway. Is the current address also of the Wempa Nursery School and Primary School, allegedly owned by Elizabeth Nabogo, which also is not well with the section of the young people in there who are out to also reclaim this facility. And how are they going to be doing this without bloodshed is what we also are following up on, because the young people in most cases we know they have the energy, they can do anything, but we are hoping and also praying this time around they must use the right channels to reclaim this facility that was started by the Obote 1 government for also skilling the young people and also acting as a center for bringing together the young people, and then also having it as a school which also is alleged, and it's today said allegedly to have been sold by the city, by the leaders or the leaders of Namutumba to also set up a primary school. Now the youth also fought also former Namutumba S5 chairpersons and some deceased also politicians for allegedly conniving with the then councillors to sell the center to Nabugongo, also Nabongo, also in there. And now the accused include that's former LC5 chairman, that's Michael Saire, who is currently also the Pader deputy RDC, and Dennis Borirena, who is now the Sironko RDC, and others as Sarah Kumbuga, who is now deceased, and who also was the Busi County councillor in Iganga district, and Waiswa Mafuko Isabire, who is also deceased, and now and among others who was the deceased, now who was also the ST3 chairperson of the Namutumba district sub-county, who are all also being pinned for also really engaging in this activity in there. Now, Julius Chandaye, the youth chairperson of Namutumba district, demanded to know if it was the council resolution to sell the public land and also as a private developer, and that is one area which we are seeing in there. And Mubarak Waiswa Youth said many of his colleagues, especially also those getting PDA money, would also reclaim the center to learn business skills, which also is not possible for them because they are being thrown out. And who is to blame? The blame also has been put on John Maka. Another youth also said the right of person to sell, to explain how a private developer got the land and his side, because he was also first acting chairperson of Namutumba Town Council, and Side also has to explain. Side refused the claims, however, saying Wampa Nursery and Primary School is all under Namutumba District Local Government, and Namutumba became a district solely during the financial year of 2006-2007, when the school was already in existence, and it was Namutumba also was Busi County, and the J. Iganga district so blaming over something I did not know, and that is why we did decide also rejecting the playing And we hope also this matter will also be adding and also address the concern, because many times government property has gone like that without a notice. And sometimes the leaders are to blame for some of these activities. But how do we get also this? And what should also the other local governments learn from that? That the crimes and the mistakes you're doing now will be able to also haunt the next generations. Because imagine if that skilling center was still in existence, how many young people would be empowered at the end of the day? How many also of the young people would also still get the necessary skills when it comes to solving some of those issues in there? Because if you look at all that, you will realize also many people have been left out, and that is where they have not also been in position to also get some of these opportunities of getting skilled in there. And skilling does not only mean getting hand-on skills. Sometimes skilling just requires knowledge, and that is where at the end of the day also we feel people must also be able to solely work towards that, and that will also at the end of the day enable us also to understand some of those activities in there. And that is where we're going to be leaving that discussion as an aside. And as we get to move on, so Minister commissions dead 2.2 billion solar water pump is another story we're seeing. This is on the Nile Post, where it is stating that Minister commissions dead 2.2 billion solar water pumps, and that's one thing also we are seeing. And this is a story on the Nile Post and happened in Mukono, and this is where we are seeing with the powers vested in me. I commissioned the solar power pump to serve the community also of Kapeke village and its neighborhoods. And that is where we're able to sort of see the declaration of Minister Aisha Sachindi during a recent visit in Mukono district. And now the minister was commissioning of, this was also during commissioning of a 2.2 billion solar water pump that has remained non-functional since its inauguration on October 24th. And now the solar panels only have failed to generate enough power to pump the water into tanks, depriving also the local community to access clean water. And what happened is what we must also investigate as members of the public in there, because if you look at water projects, today many of the projects already that are being undertaken by government have had issues. How ready and how willing are we to solely work towards all those initiatives that are all aiming at increasing access to water? Because if you look at our access to maybe coverage, you will realize most of the areas are below the national average. And today we are also talking about digging new boreholes rather than embracing this solar power and maybe this water power is only. But if this is the case, then many people are going to be resorting to digging boreholes, because the ministry and the government today is already encouraging people not to dig boreholes, but rather than also embrace national water and other initiatives. And now residents are frustrated with the minister for endorsing a project that is already defunct. They question how a minister could overlook and see such an issue. And community members, we are also upset about also being from voicing their issues during the gathering, as they were not given the opportunity to speak. And now Geoffrey Nkumbi, the chairperson of Kapeke village, revealed that the solar water pump initially also in 2020 was first commissioned by the president during the election period, and since then it has remained inactive, primarily benefiting a school owned by a relative of a former minister of state for works, for water in there. And that's one issue also which we did see happening in there. Now Kilabire Kabadiru, the speaker of Nama sub-county, said the residents solely have been without reliable access to water for the past 4 years, forcing them to trek long distances in search of water, which is also a necessity in there. But how ready are we for all this? Because indeed water is a necessity which we must all have as citizens, and which also we have right to also achieve in there, because without clean water, then it's a great challenge, because water is actually life, something which we use almost in everything that we do. And that's where we are seeing Christopher Sechanzi, the youth chairperson of Kapeke village, asked the government to intervene swiftly also so that the community can benefit from the project funded by the taxpayers in there. And Minister Sechanzi acknowledged that the issue with the weak solar system, which has been unable to generate sufficient water, and she committed also to replacing it with hydropower, and assured the community that the Ministry of Water will take the direct control of the situation. And we did see Mr. Sechanzi also directed the disconnection of Pearl Junior School from the water source to ensure the community can benefit from it. And additionally, she advised the residents to conserve what we call limited water they receive while the ministry works on a solution within 3 months. And that is where we expect the works to be done within 3 months stipulated period, because many of the times government projects commissioned just go like that. And how ready are we for all this? Because if you look at what some of these initiatives, when they are being commissioned, the excitement is always high, and people are always having a lot of expectations. But their dismay, some of these projects may not stand to leave the test of time. After 3 to 4 years, the projects are breaking down, And that is really one thing which I feel is a great challenge with some of these projects. And that is where we expect community members not only to leave the works to government alone, but rather they have to engage themselves solely in wanting to see what is happening in there. And that would, at the end of the day, give confidence in some of these government projects. Because many times people do not have confidence in government projects just because of these such issues, these bureaucracies that are also really overwhelming in there, which I feel at the end of the day must also really be dealt with as we get move on with the show. And that is where we are going to leave the discussion aside and still looking at some of the stories happening elsewhere. You read a lot is happening in the country, but we also have to work towards solely letting you know what is happening in the country in there. And that is where we are going to leave the discussion aside. And still on the monitor, we are seeing suspected cult members killed. That is another story we looked at. And Semakode dismissing also the representatives from Uganda Judicial Service is also another story we did see in there. And that is where we are also really seeing that also really happening. And we are still continuing with the show and looking at some of the stories happening elsewhere. This time round in Kampala, poor youth accused Kampala NRM leaders of sabotaging Museveni's ghetto programs. And that is one area which we are seeing where people are identifying as poor youths living in Kampala have also accused city leaders belong to the ruling government of NRM for sabotaging government programs aiming at elevating poverty and also in the ghetto areas in there. Now in August this year, President Museveni injected shillings 1.2 billion into 12 different savings and cooperatives also belonging to the ghetto community in the slums of Kampala, Wakiso and Mukono districts. But this has not also really lived and met the expectations of this group. Now during the launch of the Ghetto Youth Circle, Museveni also really held the youth, held that the youth can also be productive and elevate themselves from poverty if they deliberately engage in the 4 major productive sectors of commercial agriculture, factories and industrialization, and as well as services of ICT and innovations. But on Wednesday, we were able to see the ghetto structures. Uganda's Safik Kalyango, who is chairman of the group, said they have identified some NRM leaders in Kampala who are using other youth to sabotage Museveni's aspirations. And that is one area which we did see happening in there. But Kalyango also said the ghetto structure in Kampala will remain strong, advancing amidst the prevailing circumstances. Another leader also within the ghetto structure, in the names of Job Norman Katende, said that some individuals also really falsely claim they haven't benefited from the transformation, and that's also really some of the funds also intended for Kampala's ghetto communities, and they are just doing it also without also really any good reasons in there. But that is one issue also we are following up on. We want to see each and every one also really benefiting from these programs. Now, Katende emphasized that they have recently met with Museveni at Kololo, and the Ugandan leaders expressed his willingness to work with the ghetto community. And in a separate interview also with Monitor, NRM Director that's for Communications, Emmanuel Dombo, has promised an investigation to the insiders sabotaging government programs also within the ghetto community in there. And that is one issue also really which we are going to be keenly following up on, to see how this also really shall be ending in there. Now, official 2024 government data also shows that 22.7%, which is an equivalent of 10.4 million of Ugandans, which is 4.9% population, are youth aged between 18 to 30 years, as thousands of these survive in ghettos in mostly Kampala areas in there. But we are keenly following up on that, and we want to see how this also really will be ending at the end of the day in there. And as we get move on, remember so many of these also going to unfold, and I will be letting you know how this, of course, will be ending. And with that, we are going to be leaving our discussion aside. In case you're just joining us right now, this is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV, channel 477. And that's on Star Times. We're also there on 0073 on Zuku. And of course, we are also anytime from now joining a new platform that is of Azam. For those who have the decoder, then you need not to be worried that anytime from now you will be watching West Nile Television at the comfort of your home. On that decoder of Azam, all you need to do is just have subscription, and we are going to be joining anytime from now. And we shall be on channel 369. And 369 is the channel where you will be accessing us each and every day on, that is the Azam platform in there. But we are yet following up on and to see how this will be ending. But of course, that should be a source of excitement for those who are the decoders, and you have been wondering how best you can be watching West Nile Television. All in all, slowly by slowly, we are working towards appearing on all these decoders, because many times people have been asking us, why are you not here? Why are you not? We are coming slowly. I want to assure you of that. But for now, if you don't have the decoder of maybe where you can be able to watch us, you can simply watch us online or the comfort of your phones. All you need to do is have a computer or another gadget that is connected to the internet and search West Nile Television on the YouTube, where you will be in position to watch us. On Facebook, we are there. You can still be able to watch us. And on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, we are also really in there where you can also tag us on our handles, and we shall be in position to solely let you know of what's happening in there. For those of you who want WhatsApp, you can still be able to share your thoughts and share your opinions, and we shall be in position to solely read through and share that with the rest of the viewer out in there. And that's where we're going to be leaving that discussion aside. Makerere government-sponsored students storm finance offices over allowances is another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning. And this is a story which we feel also must be able to talk about, because many times these students who are on government sponsorship at Makerere University are entitled to some amounts which also they have to use for paying house, maybe. Others also have to use this for feeding, because getting government is not an easy thing. Imagine reading very hard. And that goes back to our learners in this Western sub-region. I don't remember the last time we have sent students in this region for government sponsorship. I know if we send, the number is not very much high. It means we are not only hitting the performance, and that means our performances are still down. And that is where I would want to encourage those in Senior 4. Do not expect that you will be working hard at Senior 6 and get the grades and you get the government sponsorship. No, it's cumulative. They start calculating it right from Senior 4, and that is where the points are now calculated, and to also emerge, maybe hit the bar. To hit the bar, the calculation starts from Senior 4. So I think it's high time that we also excel in our Senior 4s, so that we can able to perform very high in our A levels, and that will enable us to go for those courses that we want at the university on government sponsorship. And this goes back to learners, most especially those who are yet in Senior 3, Senior 2, Senior 1. You better start working hard. Why am I leaving the Senior 4s? I know that many of them have also really finished with their papers. Others will be getting done today, others tomorrow, others next week. For those last lot, they will be finishing with their examinations next week, but we are still saying we want to wish you the very best. We hope you have done your best also in these examinations, and all in all, we want to see you excel at the end of the day. That's where we're going to leave the discussion aside, and now to look at some of the stories also happening in the MP's probe cancellation of Chinese mining companies' contract. Is another story we are seeing, where the Parliament's Committee on Environment and Natural Resources has started probing how operations of Tibet Hima mining company in Kasese district, Western Uganda, were suspended, and now they investigate also in the matter, where even the Minister for Investment and Privatization also has ended the contract with Tibet, also Hima concession of Kilembe mines, following demands solely from the Chinese investor for export of 30,000 metric tons of gold, copper, and cobalt as samples for testing in China. Anita made also the remarks while appearing before the committee, where she was also summoned to explain the slow progress in reviving Kilembe mines in Kasese district. And that is one thing also which we feel is very much good. And revival of the Kilembe mines is actually good, and it would help employ many people. I had an opportunity, personal, to move into Kilembe mines. That was in 2015. I had a chance to move in there, and I was able to see what is happening in there. And really reviving the facility would actually be very much good. And at the end of the day, many people would actually be employed, and the government also would get money through foreign exchange in there. And that is where we hope that will also be able to be made possible simply through also some of those initiatives also that are aiming at also improving livelihood of the citizens in Uganda. Because if you look at all those programs, those are all aiming at also improving the livelihood of the citizens. Meanwhile, Robert Evans Kanyike, the MP for Bukotos East, and Charles Tebandeke of Bari County, say the matter of Tibet and Kilembe should be handled with care, because it touches also the livelihoods of the people, but also as a matter of fact, it involves investors who should be cared for. And the committee is set to meet the leadership of Kasese also district and the warring parties to try and also find the lasting solution, which also ended the operation of Kilembe mines, also stalled, leading to a loss of generation of funds. And that is why the leaders solely must be able to solely join hands to see to it that this matter and this factory also is revived. And now the parliamentary inquiry was initiated following a petition by Solomon Sirwanyi, the Bukoli Central MP, in April 2024, which also requested an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the termination of Tibet Hima Mining Company's contract to manage also the rehabilitation and also the operation of Kilembe mines for 25 years in there. Now, according to Sirwanyi, the government failed to meet also its obligations under the agreement, resulting in Tibet Hima Mining Company carrying losses of about 980 million, which is an equivalent of 3.581 trillion between 2014 and 2017 in there. Now, Sirwanyi told Parliament the petition also paid shillings 4.2 billion to government, directly employed also 822 Ugandans, and that's where we are still following up on that matter and want to see how that will be ending. And we hope this time around that matter also will be also addressed. If the factory maybe is very much important, let's look at the importance. we have to also devise means of making sure that it's revived, and that is where we are going to be leaving that discussion aside. Leaving that discussion aside, to summarize the entire discussion of what's happening internationally, Spain battles deadliest flood disaster in decades as death toll has risen to 95, and this is in Spain, where heavy rains have also caused havoc in the form of floods, where it is also a challenge in Spain now. Now Spain is enduring the worst flooding disaster in decades, with at least 95 people confirmed dead, and dozens still missing after huge rains swept the eastern province of the Valencia and beyond. In the torrential rains also on Tuesday triggered flash floods, which swept away the bridges and buildings and forced people also to climb on top of building and roofs and also cling on trees to survive in there. Now the Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has declared 3 days of national mourning as extreme conditions continue restricting some rescue efforts. Now the death toll is feared to climb as there are many people still said to be missing, according to information from the government, and we have to also continue praying for our people in Spain. And this is actually one of those nations, if you talk about football, it is actually one of those football destinations which many people are today following up on in there, and that brings us to also what's happening in the world of sports. And in the world of sport, I want to show you that as we are getting close to the weekend, many games also will be returning way back in the world of the regional leagues, and the 4 big leagues also will be returning also as we are heading into the weekend. And the weekend we are going to be seeing games also happening. If I can be able to let you know some of the games that will be happening, I really want to show you that we are going to be seeing games in the 4 big league, where the league is actually getting competitive, where today we shall be seeing, this time around we are going to be seeing games also returning. That is over the weekend as we are getting closer to the weekend. Karo Karunji will be taking on Blacks Power, that's on the 2nd of November. And Blacks Power also will be playing that, and that is where we shall be seeing Karo Karunji hosting Blacks Power in there. And Buhimba will be taking on Maida, that will be on 3rd of November. Medical Calvary, of course, will be returning in action against Ntugase, where they will be hosting in Yumbe. That will be on 3rd, and those are some of the games which I feel also you should be knowing as a viewer in there. And that is where also in Southern Uganda Premier League, also the games will be returning. And I really want to show you that the league is actually also getting better in there, where today we shall be seeing a game between Wakiso Giants and Express Football Club, and Bull Football Club will be taking on Solitulo Bright Stars. These are some of the games that also we shall be seeing, and yesterday we had one game on card, that is between Police Football Club and Mbali Heroes. Police was able to also pick this crucial win against Mbali Heroes by edging them by 2-1, and more details of what's happening in the world of sport will be returning. And internationally, many games are continuing, and yesterday we were able to see Arsenal Football Club playing, and somebody also out there may be saying, how did the game of Arsenal end yesterday, where we had a number of games taking place on card? I want to show you that the leagues are actually getting interesting, and we were able to also see games on card last night, where in Serie A we were able to also see Inter Milan beating Empoli by 3-0, and we were able to see Venezia beating Udinese by 3-2. Atalanta was able to also pick a crucial win against Monza by 2-0. Juventus did also draw a 2-2 draw in there against Parma. And in the AFL, the Carabao Cup, we were able to also see games also happening in there, where Brighton was able to also lose to Liverpool by 3-2. Aston Villa was able to also lose to Crystal Palace by 2-1. Manchester United also managed to beat Leicester City by 5-2, and that is one of the biggest games that we were able to see last night. Newcastle was able to also beat Chelsea by 2-0. Preston lost to Arsenal Football Club by 3-0. Tottenham Hotspur was able to also beat Manchester City by 2-1, and that is how the EFL also is going on in there. And tonight we are going to be seeing games that is in Serie A between Genoa and Fiorentina. That is how we are ending our day of today with. And more details to what's up in the world of sports, of course, we'll be returning with Owen Zaga from 2 to 3 p.m. And they will be here giving you that comprehensive and detailed analysis of what is happening in the world of sport. And as we're getting close to the weekend, we want to wish you the very best. Let's be mindful. Let's also be realistic in our dreams. And that will also, at the end of the day, help us avoid problems. With that, we come to the end of the discussions. I'm out until tomorrow. Have a good day.